Hey, it's Jordan with TYT Network. We just did a little bit of Facebook Live, had a little glitch. Hopefully it's working now. You hear helicopters over me. I hope you hear me. We're at the south side of the UCLA campus here near Blter Hall, where this morning around 10 a.m. there was a shooting. The campus is now declared safe. Students are kind of going about their business now after a 2-hour lockdown. The police have declared the shooting a murder-suicide. I'm on live with you right now, so I'm not sure if the motive, if the people involved have been released. Not really sure, a little fuzzy on the details of what actually transpired, who was the shooter, who was the victim. But 2 people have been killed here at UCLA. Students, again, kind of going about their business. I'm bringing over some folks who were here during the incident. I have a wonderful fedora-wearing woman named
Willow Wren.
And
I am Caleb Mixon.
Cool. So you guys actually are not students. You were around town eating breakfast, and you know people here, so you rushed down. Tell me from the beginning of when you got here and the whole process of what happened.
Well, basically, yeah, like you said, we were having breakfast, and we know some of the students here. She has some personal friends, and so we saw it was happening live, and we saw the initial SWAT team basically, setting up to go infiltrate one of the buildings. Speak a little louder, sorry. Yeah, so we basically we were not far from here, so we wanted to make sure that our friends were okay and see what was going on. So we came through. We passed this entrance right here on Sunset Boulevard, where all these cop cars and what seemed to be FBI and news and everything had blocked off. And so we went to the next entrance, came around here, and then basically when we landed, the LAPD choppers and news choppers were still hovering just over this building right here, which is where all the cars are. And so they were.
So hold on. So this building right here had
at least 2 or 3 choppers.
All right, so 2 choppers hovering over this building. What building is this?
This, I'm not sure which building. I don't actually go to this campus. I don't know which building this is exactly. But they took us into a lecture hall. The Anderson building, maybe.
It's right near SAC. So we are technically basically in the middle of the midst of what was going on when they had us barricaded in. I talked to a couple of students.
Where were you barricaded in?
We were barricaded in this building right here in the lecture center.
And about how many people were barricaded in with you?
About 60 to 100. The first time they moved us to a small black room where we couldn't see any lights. There was only about 10 people in that room, and then they told us to move, and they grabbed us all, and we moved to the big lecture hall by Counselor Dr. Kim. She was the one who was telling us what was going on. So during the whole extravaganza, we had good info because we had someone in there with a walkie-talkie that was communicating with other people, so we were safe. But
in the early parts of it, when you were in the initial area, you said about 100 maybe people. What was kind of the mood? Were people freaking out that they don't know what's happening, they don't know where the shooter is? Tell me about what was going on.
The vibe was very strange. It was very quiet, and everyone was on their cell phones, just basically paying attention to their own life. I talked to a couple of the students, and they gave me some pretty deep information that they had heard the first gunshots in the South Campus, which is right next to the building where the engineering is, next to the kids' math class as well. And then she said that her friend also heard shootings off campus, in the off-campus dorms on Brune Street. She said that her friends heard 6 shots on Brune Street, which is right near the YRL research library, which is basically, here I can show you that it's kind of.
So we're going to give you a really awesome paper map here that they've developed of. Oh.
This map was drawn by one of the students that we were sitting next to in the barricade in the lecture hall, and she'd been going here for a few years, and so she drew that out because she was here the whole time, and she actually she heard some of the shots been fired, and then she was following all this story with you.
So narrate for me where you guys were and where the shooting actually took place, as close as you can into.
We were located at the Star right next to SAC, which is the biggest area where all the people were evacuated from the first evacuation. It seems like what she told me is the South Campus was where they heard most of the shots. The North Campus, they heard 6 shots on Bunch Street, which is right near the Library Research Center, which is also linked to the Engineering Center. It's where the engineers do their research and build that. So that was connected to that. And she said that obviously the shooter knew the school well because they heard shots in multiple places. So they say there was one shooter, but from all the students that I was barricaded with all said they don't believe that there was one shooter. There was 4 because there were multiple shots. 2 shots fired in the Blter Hall Commons dorm. They heard 2 shots.
Sorry, I'm just going to tilt it a little bit. So.
They heard 2 shots in the Blter Hall, which is one of the dorms. Everyone was evacuated from point A. Shooter started in the South Campus, so he worked his way basically around the campus. He started out here and worked his way around.
And you're getting that through what the school was saying, or through?
We're getting that through the school and through 3 students that were inside. Actually, more than 3 students. We interviewed about 5 students, and none of them knew each other, and they all said the same thing, that there's no way there could have been one shooter because there were shots in multiple places on the campus.
So I'm a little unclear because if I'm a student or somebody who came down to campus and I don't know if the active shooter is still about, I'm not kind of just chilling. I'm a little freaked out. So you said that really wasn't the case.
Yeah, it was very weird. Like I said, everyone was extremely calm. They were offering water, snacks, like people were on their phones just doing their homework as if almost they were used to it or they expected it. It was very strange. I was expecting a lot of panic. I was expecting a lot of tears and worry and crying and panic attacks, but nobody cried. No panic attacks, no freakouts. It's just pure silence, honestly. They told us to be quiet, but you could whisper and talk, but nobody was talking.
And you said that somebody, a counselor from the school came out and was communicating on walkie-talkie?
Yes, her name was Dr. Kim, and she actually communicated with me. She had a walkie-talkie that was connected to all of the other counselors that were taking care of the other barricaded students on the campus, and she told me that the shooter was still around, that we still need to be barricaded, but where we were was safe, which was the common lecture hall right there. She was very helpful and just very calm. She kept everyone really calm and just no one was freaking out. It's almost as if they knew. I think since everyone got the text so early, they were really prepared for it or something. I'm not really sure. It's very peculiar to me, actually.
As a society, we're getting used to it. So it's, okay, it's in Chicago or New York, or, it's in my other lecture hall. You know what I mean?
Nobody seemed to care that there were 2 people dead. When I asked them, does anyone know who the students were that were deceased? No one cared. No one knew. No one cared to find out. No one was asking anyone, like, do you know where my friend? Like, there was none of that. And
it's tough to say whether they didn't care or they were just kind of, people react differently to different things, So
they just wanted it to be over and just get out. They didn't want to talk.
Now, this is going on, the barricade, an hour and a half, 2 hours. So tell me towards the end, what was going on? Was it becoming clear that the situation was resolving itself and you were going to be let out soon?
Yeah, basically we were just pretty much waiting in silence, and the couple of staff members that had the walkie-talkies, were they just let us know when they would have information. So there wasn't really any anticipation until they just announced that the barricade had been lifted, and then there was a loudspeaker, ding, congratulations, it's been lifted, you guys can leave or whatever, over the loudspeaker.
I'm assuming they didn't say congratulations.
No, not congratulations, but yeah, they said that the barricade was lifted, so everyone just kind of clapped and got up and started to walk out. So.
Okay. So you're leaving. When does the information start going out that this was a murder-suicide?
Well,
as soon as we walked out here, we heard someone say the police deemed it a murder-suicide, which confused me because all the information I've been told inside was that there were multiple shooters, 4 shooters. That's what everyone said. I never got one person inside the campus that said there was one shooter. I actually spoke to a student who was in the engineering hall, and he said he heard a shot and like a scream, but that was it. And then they told them that they needed to go somewhere else, and I guess the SWAT team evacuated them. But he was evacuated by the SWAT team, and they were holding him. He said he saw 3 people walk out and they were getting patted down with their heads like this, but they got cleared because they didn't have any weapons. So
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of times, like you said, this is becoming commonplace. So it's we have a lot of examples. A lot of times in the beginning, people think there's like 5 or 6 shooters. They might have heard a loud noise in their dorm, and because this is going on, they think that was a shooting. So there's a lot of kind of not deliberate misinformation, but there's a lot of kind of misinformation that swirls around.
I believe if there was a suicide note and it was a couple or a friend, whoever, it doesn't matter, it was probably a murder-suicide. I do believe that because they did leave a note. I don't know what the note says. Nobody has spoken of the note, but on the news said there was a note. So it probably was a murder-suicide, and then everyone gets, freaked out. They hear, someone upstairs drop their furniture, and it's suddenly a gunshot. So I believe that people were just overwarned and overwhelmed, and I think that's how everyone kind of felt. Is like we keep hearing all these different things, we don't even know what's going on, so let's just wait till after. That was kind of the vibe in there, as people we're so tired of hearing 15 different things. We don't know what's going on, we'll find out when we get out of here. Right. So,
and I think what's great about the Young Turks is we don't really do what the rest of the media does. I always find it ridiculous when these things happen that they say, now's not the time to talk about gun control. Now is the time to talk about gun control. It's the exact time. Whether it was a suicide, a murder-suicide, whether it was an accident, whatever the case, the bottom line is it's pretty easy to get a gun in this society. It's pretty easy to bring it on campus. It's pretty easy to go to a movie theater with it. I lived in New York City. I was always fearful. I mean, anyone could walk onto the subway. There's no metal detectors. So is this just, it is what it is, This is the next school shooting, and on to the next. CNN, all these places are going to cover it today, and then tomorrow they move back to the campaign trail. How do you think in terms of the lack of anything happening in response to these?
I think it's absolutely disgusting because 2 people are deceased. Rather, if they decided to suicide, murder themselves, or if there was something else in the case, I think that this still should be investigated into and looked into. This is a college full of young students. This is our next generation. These people here are the people who are going to be our presidents when we're older. So let's protect them. I'm so confused that all the students said that the thing that scared them the most was the doors did not lock from the inside. There was several reports of people having to barricade the doors with printers, chairs, desks, everything. One of the students took his belt and wrapped it around the doorknob and somehow,
You're talking about their dorm room doors?
And the places where they were barricaded, the safe zones had no locks on the insides of the door. As we can see where the choppers are circling, that is Blter Hall in the very middle of this premises.
Blter Hall is where the shooting took place.
Initially started.
Get up close because we don't have a mic.
Yes, this is where the shooting was initially recorded and heard. And also where the suspects were found, the murder-suicide suspects were found at the suicide note.
And in terms of this area of campus, if somebody was, I know you're not students, but if somebody was going to do something here, is this one of the more populated areas that you know of in terms of there's a lot of engineers, students, those kind of things?
Everybody said that where they attacked was the easiest place to attack because it's the most place where people are moving and changing classes during class period because it's located right in the center of the campus. The campus is in the shape of a heart, and Blter Hall is right here, so it's in the center. Everyone has to pass it. People who go to math that aren't even engineers have to go past it. So yes, it's a very easy place to strike, very easy place to send a message, and I think that this is more than just a murder-suicide. It's a message. They left a note. What's going on?
But do we know they left a note?
That's what I've heard from several. That was hearsay.
Okay.
But,
yeah, we've been on air for a while, so there might be some new developments that we haven't reported yet. But essentially, what you have here is whether it was a murder-suicide, whether it was 2 people who intended to kill themselves, whether they were trying to kill other people and it was stopped somehow. That information is going to come out as we go. But the bottom line is, another, whether it's a college campus, a movie theater, a mall, wherever it is, a church, a state assembly, it's another gun shooting, and I think as the people we spoke to, we've kind of become numb to the whole thing. So this actually goes hand in hand with our presidential campaign. Candidates on both sides and politicians on both sides are going to politicize this, and I think they should. I think that at the end of the day, Cenk Uygur said it best after the San Bernardino shooting. I won't try to scream like him because it wouldn't be authentic, but they're killing our kids. Whether it's in Newtown here, they're killing our kids, so that when Trump and to a certain extent some Democrats, roar about ISIS and foreign terrorism, there's terrorism going on right where you live, whether it's at UCLA, whether it's in Charleston, South Carolina, no matter where it is. Of course, you're not going, no matter what gun law. The person we spoke to here is from Charleston. No matter what the gun law is, you're not going to get rid of all violence. You're not going to get rid of all gun violence. But I will say Australia, they had a mass shooting a decade or two ago. They abolished guns in the country, and there hasn't been one since. Come on in. So I want you to go up close because the way this works is we don't have a mic. So
I was actually born in Auckland, New Zealand, and the continent of Australia, it's Oceania, that's called the continent. It's New Zealand and Australia. There was a huge vanishing of guns, and ever since there hasn't been nearly as much violence in the continent of Oceania as there has been when there was guns allowed, because I feel like people had guns for no reason when they didn't need them, and when they have them, they're just going to go straight to them when anything goes down. That's their first resource. So if you have it, you're more likely to use it. Like you said, they are killing our youth. This is connected to every other thing that has been happening in some sort of way. It doesn't matter if they knew each other, but it's all connected. It all has a meaning behind it. So I believe that yes, he's right. They are killing our kids, and that this isn't just a random shooting. This is not fucking random. I'm sorry if I cuss, but I don't understand why they never really take the time to find the fucking suspect. In the San Bernardino shooter, there was 3 shooters. It took them forever. I was watching the whole time, and I was like, look, why don't they look here, here, here? But they didn't, and people were murdered. But I believe this isn't just all the same.
Hold on. Hey, officers, is there children? So, I want you to see what's going on right here. This is about almost 3 hours after the shooting. There were little kids here on a field trip. So, essentially, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just telling you the reality. There's a whole classroom of school kids here. Yes, they were on lockdown. I'm assuming all of them are accounted for and safe. But you had school children here on a college campus for a field trip while a shooting was going on. So this is what's going on. It could have been worse, right? So the politicians on both sides are going to use this, some in a good way, some in a bad way. But at the end of the day, it's like Susan Sarandon said about Donald Trump. He's normalized racism. Well, the inaction by our politicians has normalized domestic terrorism, because that's what this is. So the bottom line is, whether you're Hillary Clinton, whether you're Bernie Sanders, I'm not going to get into that, but the only way things are going to change is if you storm the Capitol and vote these people out. Because this is, and I agree with Bernie Sanders on this is just as much of a threat as ISIS is. We look at ISIS as a bigger threat because more people are killed at once. But if you spread it out to the totality of how many people are killed, I mean, it's really not a competition in terms of America. The amount of senseless gun deaths we have is very clear. So I'll get off my soapbox. We're going to go around a little bit more, see what else we can find, and stay tuned. We'll go live again once we have something else.